Caesar, the great commander. He pushed the boundaries and order of Rome far beyond its borders. He was a man who changed the course of history, his name a legend. On that day, as he walked to the Senate, he listened to his soothsayer's warnings and chose not to enter. It was at that moment that history took a path very different from the one we know. Welcome to this alternate tale. Before stepping into the Senate building, Caesar paused, heeding the prophecy of a soothsayer who approached him. The seer whispered of an impending plot, warning that the day's danger had not passed. Trusting the cryptic words, Caesar turned back, thus revealing the identities of the conspirators. This single moment of decision not only spared his life, but also saved Rome from a devastating civil war, altering the course of history forever. After neutralizing the conspirators, Caesar fundamentally restructured the Senate. Traitorous senators were purged, replaced by new figures who were loyal and dedicated to the people's well-being. The Senate was no longer a den of intrigue, but a powerful assembly faithful to his vision. In this way, political rivalries ended, and the foundations of the Roman Empire were strengthened even further. Following political stability, Caesar focused on the economy. He secured trade routes throughout the empire, modernized all the Mediterranean ports, and minted a new currency. Merchants traveled fearlessly across Roman lands, causing the empire's wealth and prosperity to multiply. The people were living more prosperously than ever before. Under Caesar's patronage, Rome was culturally reborn. He provided great support to architects and artists, and theaters, libraries, and magnificent monuments rose in every corner of the empire. Rome was no longer just the capital of power, but also of art and wisdom. Works of art and philosophical debates enlightened every corner of the city. Further solidifying his military strategy, Caesar trained his legions with modern techniques and developed new weapons. As a result, the empire's borders remained safer than ever. Now, legionaries ventured into new lands, not just for conquest, but to bring peace and Roman order. This peaceful expansion earned them new allies. Making fundamental changes to the legal system, Caesar enacted laws that were equal and fair for the entire empire. Thanks to these laws, even the poorest citizen was protected by justice. The people's trust in the state became unwavering as everyone's rights were secured. Thus, peace and order prevailed in society. Caesar placed great importance on public health. He had new aqueducts built to supply cities with clean water and expanded the network of public baths and health centers. Epidemics were brought under control, and the Romans achieved a level of health and hygiene unprecedented in history. As a result, the population grew and the quality of life improved. Thanks to Caesar's tolerant approach, people of different faiths lived together peacefully throughout Roman lands. Religious conflicts were replaced by cultural exchange and enrichment. This atmosphere allowed different traditions and wisdoms from every corner of the empire to converge, making the empire a more tolerant place. A great revolution also took place in education. With Caesar's support, schools and libraries spread throughout the empire. Now, not only the children of the wealthy, but every talented young person learned philosophy, mathematics, and science, building Rome's bright future. Access to wisdom had spread to all segments of the population. Caesar's survival meant a different destiny for his family as well. His son, Octavian, was no longer a warrior leader, but a student of an experienced mentor, learning from Caesar's wisdom and governance. Octavian was preparing to shape the empire's future by following in his father's footsteps. Caesar was passing on all his experience for his upbringing. Thanks to agricultural reforms, Rome became the possessor of the world's most fertile lands. When land reforms were combined with efficient farming techniques, farmers lived in greater abundance than ever. The empire had grown strong enough to feed itself, and the fear of famine had vanished. There was plenty on everyone's table. Art and architecture experienced a true golden age under Caesar's patronage. Magnificent temples, statues, and monuments were built in the cities. Every street and square in Rome bore the marks of art and elegance, and Rome was becoming an unparalleled center of aesthetics in the world. Art had become a source that nourished the soul of the people. The Mediterranean was Rome's inner sea. Under Caesar's leadership, the navy grew even stronger, and piracy was completely eradicated. Merchant ships sailed fearlessly on these waters, and Rome became the undisputed ruler of the seas. This situation led to the enrichment of port cities in every corner of the empire. The development of the transportation network was one of Caesar's most important priorities. Even the most distant corners of the empire were connected by fast and safe roads. This accelerated trade and the flow of information, giving the empire a more integrated and accessible structure. The roads established not only a military but also a cultural connection. The vision of uniting different cultures would be Caesar's greatest legacy. Every nation living in the empire was able to preserve its own traditions, language, and art. Thanks to this policy, Rome was becoming a giant cultural mosaic that drew its strength from the fusion of its differences. Everyone was proud of their own identity. Science and philosophy flourished under Caesar's patronage. Libraries, academies, and research centers were established. Scholars and thinkers came together to generate new ideas, contributing to Rome's body of knowledge. Rome was no longer just a military power, but a beacon of wisdom. Wisdom had spread to every corner of the empire. Border security was better protected thanks to Caesar's experience and leadership. The legions were in constant vigilance even in the most distant parts of the empire. The borders were defended like fortresses against potential threats, bringing peace to the inner regions. Security and order had been established throughout the empire. Caesar initiated projects that encouraged public participation in governance. The people could voice their opinions on many matters, from urban planning to infrastructure projects. These steps toward democratization strengthened the public's loyalty and trust in the state. The people felt they had the power to build their own future. Caesar's long-term leadership brought stability to Rome. Bloody civil wars and political rivalries had ceased, and the empire entered a peaceful and prosperous era. The people could live without fear for the future, leaving a bright legacy for their children. This peace and prosperity had become the empire's greatest achievement. In conclusion, Caesar's survival on that day had fundamentally changed Rome's destiny. A stronger central government, flourishing trade, and enriched culture had extended the empire's golden age. That single moment's decision altered the entire course of history, leading Rome to a different future. Such was the power of a single prophecy.